Good morning. I'm Jessica Hill, President of the Mu Kappa Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated here in Missouri City, Texas. We would like to welcome, and thank you for being with us this morning to empower yourself and engage in discussions regarding your personal finances and financial empowerment. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge our partner, Julia F. Thompson Incorporated, also known as JFT. JFT is the nonprofit and fundraising arm of the Mu Kappa Omega chapter, and our partnership supports community events under the international targets of Alpha Kappa Alpha. One of those targets is building your economic legacy, where there is emphasis and focus on financial planning, asset accumulation, managing debt, and improving credit. I would like to set the tone this morning with a quote from a disciplined and determined man of history, four-time Olympic gold medalist in the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games, Olympian Jesse Owens. We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. To achieve financial empowerment, we have to be determined, dedicated, and disciplined, and we are all taking a step by being here today. On behalf of Mu Kappa Omega chapter and our Financial Literacy Committee, thank you for tuning in and welcome to Building Your Economic Legacy Financial Literacy Conference.
Good morning. My name is Monica Green, and I'm the first Vice President of Mu Kappa Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Thank you for joining us for the second annual Mu Kappa Omega Financial Literacy Conference. We are excited to have you back for those of you that have joined last year. And if you are joining us for the first time, you are in for a treat. Our Building Your Economic Legacy Committee has planned an awesome event with your financial future in mind. Welcome again. And now we'll turn it over to our chairman of this event, Renee Miller.
Good morning, everyone. In preparation for our session today, we'd ask that you please keep your device on mute so that the presenter is not interrupted by background noise and all participants are able to follow along. We also ask that you ask questions or make comments, and please use the chat feature and select panelists and attendees. A facilitator will monitor the chat room during the session as well. For technical issues, please contact programs@mukappaomega.com. Again, thank you so much for joining this session, and welcome to the Building Your Economic Legacy Financial Literacy Conference.
Now we will turn it over to our moderator, Miss Lynn Clauser.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Lynn Clauser, and I am delighted to serve as your moderator again this year. We're in a different space this year, but still the same great information nonetheless. We have lots of great information, lots of wonderful panelists, and some wonderful prizes. So make sure you stay with us till the very end, because that will have rewards. Trust me, don't go anywhere. Today, I want to go over a few themes for today. The first one being grace. We are in COVID times, we are in different times. We have to give everybody grace. Our panelists, our IT crew, the ladies of the chapter, the planning crew, and we're going to give you grace. So let's just give everybody grace. The second thing is we want you to participate. Our planning committee has put in a lot of work to plan this, and our presenters have a wealth of knowledge for you. So we want you to participate. We are here for you. So engage, engage, engage. We want you to light the chat room up. No question is a dumb question. In fact, if you don't ask a question, we're going to be concerned. So we want you to light the chat room up. And we want you to use some hashtags, okay? We've got some fun hashtags. We've got money, money, money. Anybody hear the OJs in the background playing? Financial literacy, hashtag financial literacy. We have hashtag economic legacy. So we want you to take pictures of yourself. At a certain point, I'll pause you to say, hey, take a selfie. I've already done mine. So let's just do that right now real quick. Everybody take out your camera. And I've already taken one, but I'm going to do it as well. Everybody take out your camera. Panelists, everybody take out your camera and take a selfie of yourself. And I want you to hashtag for this one, let's do money, money, money. All right? Because that's going to cue us up for our first wonderful panel. We've got some wonderful things in store. Caregivers, those of you who are taking care of your family members, purchasing a home, refinancing, selling, your credit, getting your credit together, identity theft, what's an optimal credit score, leaving a legacy for your children, nurturing your mental health so you can be the best version of yourself that you can be. So how many of you all were here last year? By a show of hands in the chat. Let's light this chat room up. Come on, y'all. It's the morning. I don't know if you had your coffee or not. I haven't had mine, so I'm already on 10. How many of you were here last year? We're going to pick a prize. Miss Tony Bryan is going to pick somebody for a prize. So if you were here last year, I want you to put your name in there. I want you to light the chat room up. Get creative. Put your name and put money, money, money. If you were here last year, we're going to award you with a nice prize. And right now, I'm going to turn things over. We're going to get things started with some two beautiful women who were here last year. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off.
Cheryl Crusoe's mission since the beginning of her now 30-plus years in financial planning has been to impart financial literacy, particularly for the African American community. And she has done just that over the life of her successful career that has led to her large and diverse client base. The four-time alumni of the University of Houston and the daughter of educators, Cheryl enjoys speaking as a way of sharing knowledge on how to accumulate and protect your money. She has helped many navigate the various financial hurdles that life has dealt her clients, such as the death of a spouse, a disability, or prolonged health issue, job layoffs, or a business failure. She is the author of the popular book entitled Real Lives, Real Money, which chronicles the life stories of how certain clients faced major financial roadblocks and the steps they took with her guidance to get back on the road to financial security. Cheryl has served on numerous nonprofit and for-profit boards and is very active in the community and politically. She was recently appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council to serve as the commissioner for the Port of Houston. Cheryl is the first African American female to serve as a commissioner in the port's 116-year history. In her spare time, she enjoys exercising and spending time with family, especially her two beautiful granddaughters.
Good morning, Moderator Lynn. This is Tony Bryant. If engagement is going to look anything like what happened when you asked them to light up the chat with who attended last year's workshop, oh my God, we're going to have an amazing time this morning, an amazing workshop. I just want to share with you from our random process. We have a winner, and her name is Doris Roberts.
That's awesome. Thank you, Doris. We'll get you your prize. Now I introduce to you Miss Cheryl Crusoe, who is going to introduce Nettie Jones.
Very good. Good morning, ladies, on this beautiful morning. And thank you so much to Mu Kappa Omega chapter of the AKAs. Thank you for that kind introduction. We're so glad to join you again this year. And I want to thank the sorority, and in particular, Renee Miller, who has been our connection. And thanks for having us back. I think what you do is such an important gift to the community, and what you're giving your community is financial literacy. So this is great, great work. I'm so thrilled to introduce my co-panelists this morning, my girlfriend, the girlfriend's therapist, as she's known all over Houston and across the country. Miss Nettie Jones, and I'll just go through a portion of her bio. It is very, very impressive and very lengthy. Nettie is a licensed psychotherapist specializing in psychotherapy services to women who want to find balance, reconnect with intimacy, and live with purpose, passion, and to know the value of their voice. And who doesn't want to have a life like that? I know that I certainly do. She's avid about providing collaborative and supportive care to her clients. And so she eliminates that stigma that I think a lot of us have, particularly as African Americans, around mental health, and trying to remove that barrier so that we can get care. Nettie focuses on changing that challenging, unhelpful cognitive behavior that many of us call that are a problem for many of us. Nettie calls it stinking thinking, and to move us to an improved emotional and independence balance. She helps her clients break down their strengths and their weaknesses and guides them on rebuilding their personal coping strategies that target improving their life skills so they can maximize their ultimate success in life. She also works with women suffering from depression and anxiety. Nettie has a thriving practice here in Houston. She's been in practice more than 20 years and gives a lot back in her little spare time back to the community. And she is a member of the Greater Pearland Area chapter of the Links Incorporated and a group called This Women's Work, which is a nonprofit organization founded specifically to help women improve their economic independence and emotional well-being. So without further ado, good morning, Nettie, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the specifics of the morning on how we can help our audience during this prolonged pandemic and difficult time, and to give them some specifics on what they can do financially to help them shore themselves and strengthen themselves financially, again, during this difficult time. I'd like for you to talk about what you're seeing in your practice. I know that you work with those that are suffering from anxiety and depression, and I could just imagine that given the number of job losses and the isolation, that you've seen a lot of anxiety and depression. And I comment on this because a lot of our emotional state is very, very much connected to our pocketbooks.
Absolutely. Good morning, and thank you, ladies, for inviting us to come and join you again this year. We're excited about sharing some great information. And you're absolutely right, Cheryl. Let me tell you, anxiety and depression has significantly increased, and in our community. And you know, in the mental health profession, we say anxiety and depression is like, you know, the common cold of the mental disorders. And so you're right, loss of job, furloughs, you know, stay at home with the kids, you know, they're virtual learning. And for people who have small kids, you're working, you're trying to school them. And then if there is a 2 household income and it's now been reduced to 1, right? And in some instances, neither work, then yes, there's that financial strain. So if there was any anxiety that exists prior to, it is probably exacerbated, as well as depression. I often say it's like an old married couple where anxiety is, depression is somewhere in the other room, or where depression is, anxiety is close by. And so it is important for us to recognize those things and address them. And so anxiety is excessive worry. And I think most of us on this call at some point in our life have worried about our resources, our finances, you know. And so you're absolutely right. We are seeing an increase. That's why it's important for us to address it, to acknowledge what it looks like, you know, when you can't get out of bed, when you're agitated, when you're irritated. And I bet a lot of people are going, oh, that's me. But to be aware of it and then to address it. And so I'm sure you're going to give us some tools and some tips on what we can do during this pandemic.
That's right, Nettie. We've spoken together often, and next to infidelity, the number one cause for divorce are money problems. And again, touching on this, I'm sure that you're seeing money problems quite a bit now in your practice. I know your practice has grown and you're very busy right now.
You know what, sure, I never thought that I would be this busy during the pandemic. I thought that people would pull back because some people feel that therapy is a luxury, right? I'm saying that for most people that I see, therapy is a necessity, right? And so let me address infidelity because, you know, that is one of the two top, right? However, infidelity takes money out of the house anyway. It takes money out of the house for the infidel, you know, which creates some problems in itself. And then so if we also have, you know, money issues, how, and I think you and I have talked about this before in a couple of segments, you know, if you're not equally yoked as it relates to how you view money, how you use money, it creates a huge problem.
Very good. Nettie, I want to offer 3 simple pieces of advice for our audience today to help people get through these difficult times. I think we need to be very practical at this particular time. I'm so happy to hear last week that a vaccine is around the corner.
Yeah.
And that perhaps as soon as possibly the end of the year, that folks will start getting vaccinated. However, I still think the reality is that it's going to take time for our economy to recover and for those that are out of work to have the opportunity to get back to work, especially in some industries like Houston, where we're so dependent upon oil and gas, some of the hospitality industries. So in the meantime, let me offer 3 recommendations. I'm going to call the first one regroup. The first thing I would suggest that you do is complete your household budget. And we won't shame anybody that doesn't have a household budget. We were reminded in our prayer when we opened to give each other grace. So for those that don't have a household budget, you can go to our website, which is wealthdevelopmentstrategies.com. Again, that's wealthdevelopmentstrategies.com. Go to the resource center and you can print down a budget worksheet. And this is a real eye-opening exercise for anyone. I encourage everyone to do it once a year to update your budget. But now is the time for all of us to complete that household budget. And Nettie, what we need to do is eliminate all non-essentials. You'd be surprised how many non-essentials we all have in our budget. And we need to eliminate those non-essentials so that we can build our emergency fund, so that we can have that cushion and have that peace of mind and lessen that stress and lessen that anxiety. It's unfortunate that even those clients of ours that are making an excellent income are one paycheck away from disaster. So it's important to have that emergency fund. That emergency fund is a minimum of 8 months of your essential living expenses. And that may sound like a lot to a lot of people, but one step at a time. And if you start with that budget, eliminate the non-essentials and set that money aside on some systematic and regular basis, you've got to have that emergency fund. My second tip I would call refinance, suspend, or get help. There are many of those that we see that have been laid off. Nothing you can do about that. Or facing cash flow problems, as Nettie said, because you have one spouse, or in some cases, both spouses are laid off. So if you've not done so already, pick up the phone, call your creditors, your credit card companies, your mortgage company, your landlord, and ask for payment reductions or temporary suspensions. You'd be surprised. We talked about grace earlier, how much grace you can get during this pandemic. Many of your creditors are willing to do so. I read recently that in Houston, that almost 40% of our population has reported that they cannot pay their rent or mortgage. Don't let your house go into foreclosure. and you certainly don't want to face eviction at the last minute, pick up the phone and call those creditors and ask for help. If you are a renter, make note of this. In Texas, you can go to a website. It's called Protections for Texas Renters, COVID-19. Protections for Texas Renters, COVID-19, to see if you have protection from eviction. There's also a great site for those that are homeowners, and it is called Foreclosure Protections for Texas Homeowners, COVID-19, for those that need mortgage protection. Please take advantage of those resources. The foreclosure numbers are skyrocketing, and there are protections for those of you all that have mortgages. For those that are blessed and are doing well financially during this pandemic, it's a good time, Nettie, I think, for the audience to take a look at possibly refinancing their home or credit cards that are at extremely high interest rates. Interest rates has fallen to historical lows, so now is the time to look at refinancing. And then number 3, I would close so we have some time for questions and answers. I would look at how your monies are invested. We see older people come in that are invested like 20-year-olds, and they've had a good time while the market has been raging. But what goes up does go down. And very often we'll see younger people who are invested like their grandma, and they've got the vast majority of their money in cash or in fixed income instruments. So it's very important to review your portfolio right now, your 401k at work, and make sure that that portfolio is positioned properly in the right kinds of assets that are more defensive given this pandemic, and that you have the right mix of equities relative to fixed income based on your age and your time horizon. So Nettie, I'm hoping that some of these tips will help your clients that are facing the anxiety that we talked about.
Absolutely. Can I add a couple of R's to the list?
Please.
So you had 3 R's, so I have 3 R's too. So my 3 R's are, relax, reflect, and refocus. It is so important for us to find ways during this time to relax, ladies. You can do guided imagery. YouTube has a list of all type of guided meditation for relaxation, guided meditation for anxiety. There's also this, it's not a new form, but it's pretty trendy. It's called tapping. So you can do this, tapping for adults. So Google that, tapping for adults. It's a little exercise where you can tap on different parts of the body to help you relax. Yoga is really, really good. And then reflect. There's a quote that I love. It's by a lady named Anna Julia Cooper. This was written in 1889. She says, reflection is a moment in time where we do 3 things. We look behind us for wisdom. We look within us for our strength, and we look ahead in hope and in faith. And so I'm like, she is bad. She also said the Black woman has 2 challenges. One, she's Black, the other, she's woman. So I encourage you in your time of reflection to recognize your past, your decisions, the things you've previously done before. I always tell clients that, when we look in reflection, we look at our regrets, we look at missed opportunities, the if, woulda, shoulda, coulda. No, Anna Julia Cooper said, that's your wisdom. So those decisions you've made in the past has created the strength in you, who is the woman you are today and the woman you're becoming. And with that strength, that should give you hope and faith. Also, refocus after you've relaxed and you've reflected. Refocus, as Cheryl has said. She gave us 3 principles that we can use. And so relax, reflect, and refocus.
Absolutely.
So we are open for questions.
So that wonderful information. Audience, I hope you have been taking notes. And at the end of this, Cheryl and Nettie, I'm going to have you give your contact information. We have one great question that's come up. Can you speak about the depression related to the loss of a parent and the adjustment of serving as a caregiver while going through a divorce and needing to adjust finances? A lot of layers to that, but can you speak to that?
Okay, yes, absolutely. During this time, it's not easy losing a loved one. And when we're not able to go through the process of, preparing to lose a loved one in the way of a funeral, the formal ways, where we have a wake and we have a funeral, and it also helps the process of releasing and letting go. And because of the pandemic, a lot of people have not been able to do that. A lot of people have not been able to be with their loved ones if they were ill or if it's unexpected. And so, making sure that you allow yourself to grieve and, find a therapist that you're comfortable with to talk to. If you're not ready to go to therapy, someone who will listen. Oftentimes people report to me that people tell them, you should just get over this. You should just let it go, but grief is a process. As it relates to a caregiver, that is hard during these times, whether you're physically providing the care for a person or if you are responsible financially for their care, if they're at a retirement center or an assisted living. And so you have limitations on visitation. And how does that impact you financially? And so making sure, again, that you're taking care of yourself. I think later in the workshop, there will be someone talking about care for the elderly. And that is so important. As caregivers, we are held to a standard of taking care of a person 24/7, whether it is physical care or if you have someone coming in, or again, if you have to use your financial resources, because that's a responsibility that you take on. So it's important that you treat yourself well and you do really good self-care, health, and also recognize that when you feel like you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, those are symptoms, ladies, of depression. That's the Black woman symptom checklist. When you say I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, that means you might be borderline depressed.
I want to add a quick comment about divorce. Most women statistically end up on the short end of the stick financially with divorce. Very often I hear women say, well, I want to stay in the house so that the children can stay in their same environment. And quite frankly, often they can't afford to stay in the house is the simple short story. Also, when you're going through and dividing up property, not all assets are equal. So I will see women in a property settlement get on their half of the ledger, the home and the retirement assets that they can't spend until they're 59 and a half. And so they're left with very little cash that they can spend and a home that they can't afford. So it's very important that before you go through that divorce and agree to that settlement, to work with a financial advisor that can help you make sure that you are positioned properly post-divorce.
Can I add something as well? I'm sorry, I neglected to talk about the divorce. But one of the things when I'm speaking with women and they're contemplating divorce, number one, you should not make a decision like that when you're emotionally charged.
Right.
And oftentimes, women are like, I'm done, I'm ready to go. And so that is a decision that you walk into with good counsel. I suggest you find a family attorney who specializes in divorce and allow them to take you through the steps of what that's going to look like. You need to know what that looks like living single, financially. What does it look like with your children? You need to actually see yourself in that space. And I encourage women to make sure that they're financially independent. And Cheryl, you can comment on that and what that means. You are emotionally independent and you're spiritually independent, and also physical independence, meaning that you are responsible for caring for your body, good health. So those are the things that those things are necessary as you contemplate or as you move through the divorce process. And post-divorce, seems to be the most challenging for a lot of women. Once you get over the hurdle of and the dust settles, it's settling into that, and that can be a challenge as well.
Nettie,
Good comment.
what is the best way to choose a therapist for yourself?
Her name is Nettie Jones. No. I think, let me tell you, I think Psychology Today is a really good resource. And it's a national, resource where you can go in, put your zip code, and you can look at the profiles of all of the mental health professionals. There's also Therapy for Black Girls, which is a it's a trendy kind of concept, but there are a lot of good African American therapists that are listed, some here locally in Houston and then throughout the United States. But I believe looking at the profiles, looking at what they specialize in, looking at how long they've been practicing. So those are really good resources. And most of those resources will allow you to go to their website and you can get additional information, but also you should talk to that person. I mean, when clients reach out, I try to call them back so that we could have that brief conversation. Because number one, I need to know if you're the right client for me, and you need to know maybe if I'm the right client for you. And if you have 1 or 2 sessions and you don't feel heard or there's not a connection, you need to find another therapist, just like you would a medical professional, right? If you didn't connect with your gynecologist, then you need to find somebody else, right? So yeah.
Really good information. Cheryl, we've got time for this one last question. I'm going to throw this to you, Cheryl. This is from Lakeisha. Are there any financial trends or patterns that we should be on the lookout for or expect in the next few years, given the issue and state of our current economy?
What we are doing now with our clients' portfolios are being more defensive. And so with regard to equities or stocks, focusing more on large cap companies because they have stronger balance sheets and are better able to weather the storms, and reducing or eliminating positions in small and mid cap companies and international. And then with regard to your bonds in your portfolio, moving away from mid quality, where we were trying to get a little bit more yield, and moving towards more high quality kinds of bonds. So those are the things that we are moving towards.
Okay, y'all, I don't think we have enough time this morning to talk to the girlfriend's therapist and Cheryl Cruzo, but I'm going to leave you both to give your contact information because we've had several questions on how to reach you. So Cheryl, if you'll go first, and then Nettie.
Okay, very good. My firm is Wealth Development Strategies. You can reach me at wealthdevelopmentstrategies.com. I also want to remind our audience that I have a book that I think is very helpful. It's a book written about actual clients who've gone through every human frailty in life, things that can happen to us. And it's called Real Lives, Real Money, and it can be purchased at reallivesrealmoney.com. But thank you for today. I've really enjoyed it. I hope this has been helpful. And thank you, Nettie, for joining me. And if you would give your contact information.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's Nettie at nettiejones.com. That's my email. And then my website is nettiejones.com. I can be reached at 832-452-8863. And yes, this book is amazing. You guys need to get a copy. I like it because they're real life issues, right? And so I think that most of you can relate to at least 1 or 2 stories in here. If not, you know someone. So I love the way she writes this because it kind of pulls you in and it allows you to have some hope, and it encourages you to know that you too can get back on, as she says, the road back to prosperity. So thank you, ladies, for having us come back again. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. And we are so honored. Thank you for the information. So attendees, remember, relax, reflect, refocus, and also regroup. Thank you,
That's right.
Cheryl. Thank you, Nettie. Attendees, we will have their contact information in the chat. And even after this, we'll give that information to you. So thank you so much again for joining us
welcome.
this
Thank
year.
you.
And everybody, I need for you all to don't forget your hashtags. We want to take pictures. We want to stay engaged. Hashtag economic legacy, hashtag money, money, money with Cheryl Cruzo in mind. And we want to keep her book in mind as well. We are going to pay the bills. So we're going to go to a quick infomercial and we will be right back after these messages.
The Council-approved MCTX CARES Act Fund will launch on Monday, September 28th. The city has approved $500,000 in funding from the Federal CARES Act for the Rental, Mortgage, and Utilities Assistance Program. The program will help residents affected by COVID-19 to pay their rent, mortgage, and utility payments. Starting Monday, September 28th, residents can submit an online application on MissouriCityTX.gov. Please remember to only submit one application per household. Payments will not be made directly to the residents, so landlords and mortgage companies are required to do a separate enrollment application. For more information, call 281-403-8690 or visit MissouriCityTX.gov.
Before you drive someplace new, you plug your destination into a GPS, right? Financial planning is a lot like that. You're creating a roadmap for your money. Planning helps you make the most of what you've got, so you can balance the life you want now with the one you want later. It can help you reach long-term goals like saving for your dream retirement, or short-term goals like a family vacation. Not sure what your goals should even be? Financial planning can help with that too. A financial representative can help you get organized, prioritize your goals, and create a plan to help you reach them. Hit an unexpected detour? No sweat. A financial plan can help you quickly recalibrate and keep you moving toward your destination. The bottom line? Life has many twists and turns. Financial planning can help you and your money stay on track.
All right, y'all. see y'all gave me some grace. I jumped in a little too early. So remember, our theme throughout the day is giving each other some grace. I want to remind you, if you want to win some prizes, which I'm sure everybody does, please, please, please go into the chat, and you have to make sure you have registered for the conference. The link is in the chat. Make sure you have officially registered for the conference and stay to the end so that you will see if you're a winner for our prize or prizes. So we're going to move right along to our next topic. We have some great presenters. We have Dr. Kenethia Hills, who is CEO of Ring the Alarm Credit Repair. She was with us last year. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of her bio. As the CEO and founder of Ring the Alarm Credit Repair and a licensed realtor with the LJ Group real estate firm, Dr. Kenethia S. Wells has several years of experience working in real estate and utilizing her credit repair, financial literacy knowledge, and skills to create homeowners and more. She received her Doctor of Education from TSU, and she is also a proud graduate of Southern University AM. Also, her quote that she loves is, "To give great service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity." We also have mortgage realtor Danya Antoine with Alon Realty. She is a licensed Texas real estate professional with over 25 years of experience in mortgage originations and realty. She currently serves the Houston and surrounding areas in making the dream of home ownership come true for borrowers. She is also diligent in her career and community to ensure homeowners can maintain their dream by educating her market on steps to take in the event of any hardships. We also have Quentin Murray. Quentin is a big city branch manager with On Time Lending. And he also has small city values with over 18 years of sales management and lending experience. He has developed a service first approach. He is solution oriented and will work diligently with you to help you achieve your goal of home ownership. Many of his clients say they started with a loan officer and ended with a family member. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our panelists for the Credit Monitoring and Repair, Mortgage Lending and Investments Workshop. I'll throw it all to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be here. I would definitely like to say thank you to co-chair or one of the co-chairs, Rachelle Jones, for inviting me back again. I am very passionate about this subject when it comes to credit repair, because in our community, a lot of people are not educated about credit. And I meet a lot of people that want to start the home buyer journey, but they don't understand that credit is basically the start. Like, if you don't have good credit, or your credit is not where it needs to be, or your profile is not good, it looks good, then your home ownership dream is going to be very hard to accomplish. I just want to open up with the 5 factors of credit. Basically, you do have 5 items that affect your credit score. And if you ever Googled this or you've researched this information, you may be familiar with the terms. But I just want to touch on 2 items when it comes to the 5 factors. Well, the 5 factors are how you pay your bills, okay, your revolving balances, your credit history, your mix of credit, and your credit inquiries. But the 2 that gives you the most points is going to be how you pay your bills, which is 35% of your scores, and revolving balances, which is 30% of your scores, okay? Now, if you pay your bills on time and that's all you do, you don't do anything else correctly, your credit score will probably be in the 580 range. Typically for home ownership, and I know we have a lender on here that will touch on this session here. You would more than likely want your credit score to be at least at a 620 if you want to qualify for any of the down payment assistance programs. Now, when it comes to revolving balances, on the other hand, that is particularly dealing with any account that is considered a revolving account. So your credit card is considered a revolving account. Your car note is not considered a revolving account, okay? Your student loans is not considered a revolving account. Anything that you're paying monthly payments on, and one day when you stop making payments, the account will close, that is not a revolving account. So you're not getting those 30% revolving points if you don't have any open credit cards, because a credit card, that is a revolving account. And many clients that I meet, when they think that they need credit repair, most of them just really need to add a credit card to their profile and know how to use the credit card, okay? And then lastly, I want to touch on the credit bureaus, when the credit bureaus update. So when the credit bureaus update on your profile, and your credit profile, they do it between the 12th and the 15th of every month, okay? This is based on hearsay. It's not like something you can Google to look this up, so I don't want you guys to say what she said, but based on a lot of people experience in the industry, the 12th and the 15th of every month is when the credit bureaus update your credit profile. And here's why. You have millions of people with millions different type of accounts, millions of accounts on their credit profile. Just imagine that. They cannot do a true 30-day depiction of your credit because we all have different due dates, okay? So what they do is look at your profile from the first of the month up until the time that they update. And let me tell you how I know that this is true, because I just dealt with this with a client. She had her credit pulled on November 6th and her credit score was a 605, okay? And she was, adamant that she paid off one of her credit cards and it had not updated on her credit profile. The lender was saying, well, you're going to have to bring your own down payment because your credit score is not at least at a 620 to qualify for the program. Well, yesterday, the lender did what we consider is called a rapid rescore and was able to see that her credit score went up to a 633 because she was able to pay off that credit card. Now, had I not suggest to the lender, like, hey, the credit bureaus, they usually update between the 12th and the 15th. Do you want to try to pull before the builder cancels her contract to see if we can do a rapid rescore? And if I had not suggested that, then the buyer may have been stressed trying to, come up with more funds to close on her home. So the 12th and the 15th is the window. And what you do before the 12th and the 15th of the month is super, super important when it comes to your credit. If anybody wants to chime in, I know we have.
Dr. Kanithia, can you repeat those 5 points, please?
Yes, so the first one is how you pay your bills. That's 35% of your scores, okay? You have to pay your bills on time. Like, that is a must. If you're going to be late, the previous panelists spoke on this, contact the credit card company or the creditor and ask for a grace period. Legally, they cannot put a late payment on your credit report unless you're 30 days past due, okay? The second one is revolving balances. That one is 30% of your scores. So what that basically means is how much debt do you have remaining on your credit card? So if you have a credit card that has a $300 limit and you've already maxed out $250, where your revolving balance is pretty low, it's pretty high, which you're not going to get points for that. It's really going to hurt you because you're using more than 30% on that credit card, okay? And then the other 3 were credit history. That one is 15%, basically just means how many years that account has been opened, okay? When you close an account or you pay off an account and you had that account open for at least 5-6 years, you will lose a little bit of points for that. And then you have mix of credit, just meaning different types of credit. That's 10%. And then lastly, credit inquiries, which we know when we have someone pull our credit, we do lose a few points for that. And that is 10% of your,
Awesome.
of your
Thank
scores.
you for repeating that.
Mhm.
Let's go into what Danya has to say with Alon Realty.
Hi, how are you? Hope
Wonderful.
everybody's staying well during the pandemic. As far as real estate is concerned, right now, even with the pandemic, we are staying busy. People are still buying, selling, investing. Now is the time. Of course, I'm sure you guys know that interest rates are at an all-time low right now. Even though here in the Houston Metroplex, we are experiencing the price of homes continuing to go up. That is for a number of reasons. As far as new homes, the reason that the homes are going up in value right now is because the price of lumber and some other materials that they use to build are actually going up also. So I always tell my potential clients that now is the time for two reasons. Number one, the interest rates are at an all-time low, and I'm sure that Quentin will discuss that with you guys when he starts to speak as far as the loans are concerned. But the homes are now, as I stated before, the value is going to continue to go up. The amount that you're going to pay to buy, your monthly payments, all of those items are going to continue to increase. So I always try to, I don't know, I guess, give my clients a sense of urgency. Not only that, we have a new president, go Joe Biden, but after an election, rates typically start to slowly climb up. Okay, so now again is the time to buy. As far as my experience in the real estate and mortgage industry, there's pretty much not a question that I can't answer. I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, I've seen the market crash. I've been through it all now. So with that being said, when I have a client that's kind of on the fence, I'm like, no, if you have your credit together, your income is stable, now is the time. All we have to do is figure out what area of Houston you want to be in. Houston is large, but again, it's going to depend on your family makeup, where you want to be as far as school district, et cetera. But with that being the case, like Dr. Hill said, your credit is the number one thing that you want to make sure that you have together in order to buy.
Awesome. Now, what if we have some first-time home buyers? They've been wanting to buy a home. What are the steps that one needs to go through to achieve that dream of owning a home?
Okay, so for first-time home buyers, when I do classes and all of those things, I tell a first-time home buyer, where you want to start is your credit. I mean, you have to understand your credit, because when you're renting, it's a little different, okay? So when they come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying, which I have a young lady right now, she's single, no kids, first-time home buyer, she's a teacher. So with that being said, we want to look at your credit first. Then we want to look at, do you qualify for any down payment assistance? Because your first time out is the time where you want to take advantage of those things. There's different down payment assistance programs. Some allow up to $25,000 in down payment, some as low as 10. But with that being said, we have to start with your credit.
Awesome. Now, so Dr. Kenethia Hills can help you repair your credit, get your credit together. Danya with Alon Realty, she can help you find that dream home, but we need a loan. So Quentin, you want to chime in and tell us how your services can be a part of the perfect package here?
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity to share this morning. Dr. Hills and Danya have essentially taken everything I needed to say about the mortgage process. So for me now, it's more so to speak to the point that agreeing with Danya that the time is now. What I'm finding is a lot of people, I'll say it this way, this is the first time in my career that I've seen where you can truly purchase a home for less than you can rent for the first time. Also, we are seeing an opportunity where people with lower credit scores can get the same benefits as a person with a 700 credit score or 750. I believe last week, the down payment assistance program, one of them, the interest rate with a 4% down payment assistance towards their closing cost down payment was 2.875. That is absolutely amazing for someone who may be a lower credit score borrower. Right now, also, the first step is to know where you're standing. Dr. Hill said it perfectly. I believe a lot of people don't believe they can own a home because they don't know where their credit is. I had a couple come just this past weekend. They were referred by another client of mine, and they had little confidence. They were saying, well, we want to see if we can start to buy a home by the end of 2021. And I pulled their credit, and it was fine. They were perfect. They were actually able to purchase a home or start the home buying process now. My encouragement right now, essentially, is we have to take advantage of this market. Danya said it best: right after the election, any election, regardless of who's in office, we're going to see a slow creep up in interest rates. Right now, we are literally at a historical low. I'm not sure if we will ever see rates in this range ever again. I can't see it going lower than this. I don't think we ever go to a negative interest rate. But with that being said, I just want to encourage everyone here, if you're renting, please, let's explore. Get with a lender that can do what's called a soft credit pull, where you won't get an inquiry that won't affect your credit score, just to tell you where you are. Or get with Dr. Hills so she can help you find out where you are, so that you can start the home buying process. I believe the window is going to shrink. House prices are rising. I have clients that have purchased homes in February of this year, and they've already gained $70,000 of equity from February to November. So the market is insane right now in a great way. But what's going to happen is, for those who wait, they're going to miss that opportunity, and they have to end up buying on the high side. So for me now, for the first time in my career, I can work from a consultative role as opposed to a sales role. I haven't had to sell anything in months. Right now, we're just consulting and helping people make the greatest decisions. So if you're a part of this conversation or a part of this this opportunity this morning, I want to encourage you. If you are renting, it is time to purchase. And that is from a consultative approach. Don't miss this opportunity. If you own a home and you haven't thought about or looked into refinancing, please look into refinancing. My business quadrupled since July with refinances. And I'm not seeing a lot of people from my community refinancing. I'll say it that way. And I want to encourage the people from my community to start reaching out and finding out. My mother, this is a true story, and I'm not embarrassed to tell it. She has a 6.99% interest rate until the end of this month when we fix that. I didn't know it. That's an extremely high interest rate. And when I spoke to her, she's like, I'm not refinancing. And I asked her why, and she didn't have an answer. There are a lot of people that may be in that position. They're fine where they are. They can make their payment. But if I can save you $350 to $500 per month, or $4,200 per year to $6,000 per year, that's something that you can definitely use to help, with your financial situation, especially in this type of economy. And that is our average right now. We're saving our clients $350 to $500 per month, each and every client. That's the average. That's huge money that you can put back into your household to use towards wealth building. I would love to ask Cheryl, who actually gave me my first real job. I worked for Wealth Development Strategy. That was my first real job as a financial advisor. But I can only imagine what you take that just 1 year savings and put it into an investment vehicle and see what can happen over the next 10, 15, 20 years. Right now is an opportunity to take the wealth from your home. I tell my clients, I'm going to wrap it up. I tell my clients, when you have equity in your home, if you have access to it, take advantage of it, because it's not like you can connect the ATM machine to the side of your house when you need money. At the point that you need money, it's too late to try to get it from your house because you might not have the credit anymore or the income. So when you have the availability to get a home equity line of credit or a home or do a refi cash out, to use that money to go into a investment stream that appreciates faster. I'm seeing my clients that are outside of my community do that a lot. And I hope everybody understands what I mean, outside of my community. And hope that's the appropriate way to say it. And I digress there. It's time, and the time is now to take advantage of a big shift in financial wealth through real estate.
Well, this is all such good information. And I really hate that we don't have a lot of time to explore more. If we can just take maybe 5 minutes, I'm going to rapid fire some questions just because we have so many. So if I throw out a question, if you can just give a quick response, because I do want you all to have time to give your contact information after this. So if you can take your phones off mute or your screens off mute. Is Credit Karma a reputable source?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. How much should
I just answered that question in the chat. I recommend using myfico.com. That may be like the one that is going to give you your FICO score that the lender uses, or Experian. Experian is not like on the money, like 100%, but it may be a few points off on their FICO score as well.
Okay, would you be considered a first-time home buyer if your first home was purchased or financed under your spouse's name?
If they've owned the home 3 years, if you've owned the home for 3 years, you're again a first-time home buyer. The first-time home buyer sometimes phrase can be a misnomer. Some people think that you could have never owned a home, but once you own a home for 3 years, you're now reclassified as a first-time home buyer.
Now, if the spouse, the person that asked the question, as long as your name is not on the deed, so your spouse purchased the home before you were married, and your name is not on the deed, then you may be considered a first-time home buyer. But if your name is on the deed, even though you were not on the loan, you're not considered a first-time home buyer.
Okay, next question. Can you refinance your rental property since it's not your primary home?
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. I have clients that are refinancing their entire portfolios to save money, and they're saving, you got to think if you have a portfolio of 3 properties, you're saving $1,500 per month on the package. It's definitely time to refinance your rental properties.
Okay, and on the subject of refinancing, it seems like when you refinance, the mortgage loan is extended. Is this true?
We can actually start right where you are. So say you've been in a home for 10 years, we can do a 20-year mortgage refi. I have, as a broker, the opportunity to do refinance where we start right where you are. If you've been in a home for 5 years, we can pick up there. You've been there 4 years, we can pick up right there. We don't have to go back to 30. What I do encourage people to do, if they've been in a house for less than 5 years, go back to 30, save the money, and then make a quarterly payment. And if you make a full payment every quarter based on your savings, you'll essentially pay your home off in 18 years. If you have 15 years, we can do a 15-year refi.
Okay, and then the last question before we allow you all to give your contact information, how much should you have for down payment and closing costs?
It depends. So I would say if you're looking to if you have to do an FHA loan, that amount is 3.5%. If you're doing a conventional loan, that's typically 5%. My rule of thumb to everyone that's purchasing a home is not to only have enough money to buy the house. So I would like to ask people to have as much money as humanly possible above and beyond 5%. If you can have 10% set aside when you're going to your home purchase, because once you purchase a home, there's still furniture, there's still lights, water, gas. And I think a lot of people budget just to get in the house, and then they run into trouble because they don't have an extended budget outside of that. But 3.5% on FHA, 5% on conventional loans. But we don't want to stop there because that will set you up for an ultimate, you can potentially put yourself in a bind. I would follow Cheryl Cruzo, have 8 months worth of reserves on your mortgage payments when you get ready to purchase a home, just in the event that something happened catastrophic.
Okay, great. All right, so what I'd like to do, Dr. Kanithia Hills, I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask you one last question and then go ahead and give us your contact information. This last question, I think it may be applicable to a lot of people. If you do a consolidation of all your credit cards, does that hurt your score?
I was answering that in the chat. I was trying to answer that. Okay, so basically, yes, it will affect your scores because remember, the number of accounts that you have open, you have credit history points for those accounts. So depending on the number of years, like student loans, for example, those are probably your accounts that have the most years as far as history. So yes, it will affect your scores. However, it will allow you to build positive credit moving forward. If you'll get more positive points as long as you're paying that account on time when you consolidate them into one. So you will see a drop a little bit, you will see a drop, but then it's going to improve because now you're paying everything into one versus having all of those different accounts. And I don't know, depending on the status, if they have late payments and stuff like that.
Awesome. And give us your information.
So my email address is owner@ringthealarmcredit.com. My website is www.ringthealarmcredit.com. And my phone number is 225-663-9413.
Okay, repeat that again, please.
So you want me to type it in the chat?
Yeah, type it in the chat for me.
Okay.
Type it in the chat. Yes, please. Thank you. And Danya, one last question, and then if you'll give us your contact information. Is it better to have a 15 or 30-year mortgage?
It is definitely better for a first-time home buyer to have a 30-year mortgage. That way they kind of get a feel for their monthly payments, and as far as it relates to their income. Because you have to consider that when Mr. Murray is doing your loan, then they're not considering all of the extra bills that you're going to need to pay, such as light, water, gas, etc. They're only considering those bills that show up on your credit report. So with that being said, I always say for a first-time home buyer, maybe the 30-year is the way to go. And then my contact information is Danya Antoine Sales, SELLS, @gmail.com. My phone number is 713-298-9749.
Awesome. And then Quentin, if you want to
Yes.
give any last information that maybe we didn't cover, and then give your contact information.
Sure. No, I believe we were thorough between Dr. Hills and Danya. I don't know if there was anything else I can add to the conversation, except I wanted to create a sense of urgency for those. If you have not taken advantage of refinancing or purchasing a home right now, I just want to encourage you, the time is now. And my company is On Time Lending. I'm the non-producing branch manager. We have an amazing team of loan officers to work with us. You can go to my website at close, CLOSE, with Q.com. That's close with Q.com, or call the office at 713-554-0452, and we'll be happy to serve you.
All right, great. And if you all could, once again, type your information in the chat so that everybody has that. Y'all, this has been a wonderful, wonderful panel discussion on credit and buying a home and refinancing. These three individuals, I mean, you all kind of work in synchrony, because you get your credit together, you get a home, and then you have someone that's able to help connect you with a loan. And so I just think that you guys all this was just a great panel. So thank you so much for your knowledge. And we're going to go to commercial break, but I want to remind you, if you want to be eligible for prizes, make sure that you have registered officially for the conference. That's the only way that you can win, is to be an official registrant for the conference, an official attendee. Look in our chat. We'll go ahead and our chat monitors will go ahead and drop that link. Make sure you are officially registered. And that way at the end, because you have to stay till the end to be eligible for prizes, we'll go ahead and do some random drawings. We are going to go and pay a few bills. We're going to go to a commercial break. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
History isn't reserved for black and white photos covered in dust. We have the power to make history with every song recorded, with every hashtag created, with every barrier broken. History is alive, and we make it every day.
We're proud to support our partner Lonnie Bunch III, who brings history to life during Black History Month and every other day of the year. What would you like the power to do? It all comes down to a single, defining moment. When a plan stops being a plan and gets set into motion. Today's Merrill can help you get there with the people, tools, and personalized advice to help turn your ambitions into action. What would you like the power to do?
All right, we are back from our commercial break. I've always wanted to say that, y'all. We are going to go into our next panel discussion. We are at a time where many of us may be taking care of aging parents. We may be taking care of aging grandparents. And so we need to know how to prepare for that and protect ourselves financially for that. Our next panel discussion is planning for caregivers, wills, trusts, and estate planning. And we have three esteemed speakers that will be speaking with us today. Cynthia Hatchett, she is an estate attorney with the Hatchett law firm, and she runs that firm with her husband, Michael. She is also a graduate of UCLA and attended the University of Houston, where she earned her MBA and Juris Doctorate. She has been licensed to practice law for 27 years, and her current practice emphasizes matters applying Christian principles. You don't really see that often. So thank you so much for joining us, Cynthia. We also have Deborah Nixon. She is an RN and an MBA. She has founded Nixon Adult Care Center, and she is the founder of Nixon Care Home. She earned her bachelor's degree in nursing from Texas Women's University in Houston, and also her master's degree in business administration. Nixon Home Care is a nonprofit organization and has expanded its services to Nixon Assisted Living Facilities, Nixon Independent Living Facility, and Nixon Adult Daycare Center in Shepherd, Texas. And last but not least, we have Miss Ramona Thompson. She is with Heart Home Healthcare, Inc. She's a licensed and certified Medicare provider there and offers comprehensive home healthcare services for Medicare patients. Heart Home Healthcare, Inc. provides skilled nursing, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, home health aid care, medical social workers, and medical equipment and supplies coordination. So we want to welcome Cynthia, Deborah, and Ramona to our panel today and our discussion. Welcome, welcome. Do you want to go ahead and start, Cynthia?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me to return this year. This has been a fantastic program. I've taken so many notes. And I want to thank you guys for organizing this again and not just saying, well, it's the pandemic, we're not going to do this again. This is so vitally important to our community, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me to participate again. I'm planning to stay throughout, and I'm excited about all the knowledge I've already gained. I wanted to talk with you guys just a little bit, and then I'll pass it over to the other speakers that probably have a lot more important information to share. I wanted to share with you guys something that's happening, and I think you're all going to know about this, and that is in the climate that we're having right now, we're all having to have the talk a lot more. Anybody having the talk with your children because of the climate of unrest? And I know I can't hear you, but I hope that you're nodding your heads and you're understanding that for people of color, especially our sons and our young daughters, we're, as parents, responsible parents, we're starting to have the talk. But before there was so much talk about unrest, we were also having something else that we used to call the talk. Do you guys remember the excitement as a parent, if you are a parent, around, and the nervousness around having to have the talk with your children? Or do you remember if your parent had the talk with you? And so totally different talk than the talk that we have around racism and the dangers of racism. The talk with our children was the talk about the birds and the bees. Essentially, it was the talk about the S word and telling them not to have the S. Now I want to talk with you guys about a new phase that most of us are coming into. It's not the talk about racism. It's not the talk about the birds and the bees. It's the talk about legacy. So I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes with you guys to have the talk with you and to encourage you to have the talk with your loved ones. And by talk, I mean transparency about your legacy and the keys. Transparency about legacy and the keys to legacy. So not the talk about the birds and bees, not the talk about, what happens when you get pulled over by a police officer, but a more critical talk about for finances and for your financial life. And it marries together with your legal life. And by that, I mean, if you are over 40 or nearing 40, or if you have a parent that's in the late 60s or over 60, you should have already had the talk with them. And if you haven't had the talk, you need to have the talk. Again, the talk about legacy and the keys to legacy. If you're over 40, you should be having the talk. If a parent's over 60 or 70, if anyone in your family that you're responsible for has been diagnosed with any type of chronic illness, anything that they may need someone to care for them, if you have a dysfunctional family, and I'm sure Nettie could tell you, there's more and more of that happening. It's hard to even find a functional family these days. If you are part of a functional family, a functional unit, but maybe you live apart. So I'm finding a lot in my practice where mom and dad might live in Texas, but all of the children went off to school other places and they stayed other places. And there's only one child here really helping to take care of the elderly parents. Sometimes there can be friction just because the kids are living apart. You can even have a functional family, but there's some siblings that are outside of the core family unit. In other words, people are remarrying, they're having children from other relationships. And so sometimes it's not that it's a bad family or that they're dysfunctional, it's just that they're not communicating about private and personal things. Y'all, we all need to be having the talk, because when we don't have the talk and a crisis happens, such as folks who are getting sick with COVID, that's a common thing happening now since March. I even had a family member who got sick immediately and was hospitalized almost immediately. There was no time to plan, no time to discuss. So having your financial life in order is essential, especially if you might have to be taken care of, or you might have to take care of someone else. So I want to encourage you to have the talk and be transparent with your family members. I want you to think about these documents that every adult should have, and I want you to write them down. There should be a medical power of attorney. There should be a durable financial power of attorney. There should be a directive to physician or a living will. There should be a will, and a will is what you do, what you use and what's submitted to the court after a person dies. You can also have a transfer on death deed that may help transfer property without having to go through the probate process. These documents are essential, but what I'm finding a lot of folks are doing is they're having these one-off conversations with their family members, with their loved ones, and they're not talking as a unit. I want to encourage you folks to have like a committee meeting or an advisory meeting and just really just throw it out there. And I would begin with talking about what you're doing for yourself. See, we're in the adult session, and I will answer that question. We're in an adult session, so I'm going to assume everyone in this session is over 18 and competent to make their own will, competent to make their own power of attorney for medical reasons, competent to make a financial durable power of attorney, competent for a directive to physician. That's to say what you want to have happen in the event of an extreme emergency. Do you want to be left on life support? Listen, that's critical right now, because if you happen to be in a hospital and they don't know what should happen, they are actually having family members execute documents to not extend life, but to end life. So if you have a definite decision about that, you need to have that in writing. You want to have a will because a will direct what should happen to your things, your personal assets that aren't titled to someone else or jointly held with someone else, or not pay on death beneficiary to someone else at the time of your death. You really want to have everyone in your family be on the same page. It's almost like if you have a bucket and you're taking care of it, you're putting your money in the pile in this bucket, and you're being responsible, but someone else in your family that may rely on you is not being responsible. It almost won't matter what you've done if you guys are not all working as a unit or as a team. So that's why I say it's important to have the talk. All right. Most people don't recognize that powers of attorneys end at the time of death. So if you know that there's a grandparent or a parent, or even you yourself, you have a power of attorney, but you don't have a will, unfortunately, those documents end the moment a person dies. And so if they don't have a will, you'll have to go through the heirship process, which could be very expensive, depending on what the family unit looks like. Have the talk. And I would recommend, now that Thanksgiving is coming up, Christmas is coming up, if you are the type of family it's been uncomfortable, like these other talks, having the birds and bees talk is uncomfortable. Having the racism talk, it's uncomfortable. This talk is uncomfortable too, but it's just as necessary. Use this time, this holiday, to have that conversation with your loved ones and just be transparent about what you're doing. Admit what you have going on, what you don't have going on. And there are plenty of tools and resources that you can actually even Google to get a good start. If you have elderly folks who are probably not doing so well financially, Thurgood Marshall School of Law, South Texas School of Law, University of Houston, all have legal clinics. And sometimes you will find lawyers organizations who will provide free legal advice and do free legal documentation. Contact them and see when they're going to have their next fair. They used to do them pretty frequently. I'm not certain how they're doing them now in the event of COVID. But I'll tell you, you're going to save yourself tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of heartache if you have the talk now, and if you execute on a plan based on what you learn about the legacy that you want to leave for your children, for your family, or what your elders may want to leave for you. Thanks for inviting me. I hope this made y'all think a little bit about planning, especially if you're going to be a caregiver for someone in these days.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Deborah, you want to chime in here? Deborah is the owner of Nixon Home Care and Adult Daycare.
My name is Deborah Nixon, and thanks for inviting me. And I guess the number one thing that I like to talk about is, as our loved ones age, we are all going to have to find a place to place them. And working in the hospital and being a registered nurse, I've seen where the social worker comes in and says to the family, your mom can no longer live independently by herself. So that causes you to have to find somewhere to place your loved one. Well, it really helps if you've already been looking. You may not need to place your mom now in 2020, but she may need to be placed in 2021. So it's always good to start looking in order to see the different homes that are out there to place your loved one. So with that being said, there are a few things that I like to tell people that you want to look when you go into the homes. The number one thing I would say that you need to look for is to make sure that you're able to visit your mom. You don't have to call in advance to say, I'm coming to visit my mom. If you have to do that, then that allows them, when they're not doing something correctly, to run and get it straight. You should be able to call from the gate or press the button to say, hi, my name is Deborah. I'm here to visit my mom. If you're able to do that, you'll be able to see what goes on during all times. Another thing you would be able to do is to go and say, what type of activities are you offering to stimulate my loved one's brain? A lot of times you're going to have where churches may come in and offer Bible studies. And if they come in and offer Bible study, they would come in on the weekend, not necessarily always on Sunday, but sometimes they come in to do Bible study on Wednesdays. There's another group that comes in on Saturday at our location where they come in, they play dominoes, cards, bingo. The other ladies will come in, they will do the ladies' nails, they'll do their hair. They just offer them different types of activities. And another issue you want to look at is when I bring my loved one here, if you say the cost is between $2,500 and $3,500, you need to know what a $2,500 paid for as well as $3,500 paid for. And I say that because when your mom first comes to live here, she may be able to have minimal assistance in taking a bath. And then it may get to the point where a year or two down the line, she can no longer assist me with giving her a bath. Therefore, the cost of care will increase. The cost of care will increase. So those are some of the things that you want to look for when you're placing your loved one in an assisted living. You may also place your loved one in an independent living where they may not need as much care. So what it is as the care goes from where the individual can independently take care of themselves, they only need someone to cook for them as well as give them their medications. It will get to the point where they may end up in an assisted living where they need a lot more help. And it could also transfer where they no longer can live in the assisted living and they may end up in a nursing home. So it all depends on where that individual is. So I like to tell people, start looking now. So when the day comes and you do have to place your loved one, you will already have looked out there to see what opportunities are available. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Deborah. We're going to move right on to Ramona Thompson-Holt, who is the administrator at Heart Home Healthcare. Ramona, are you there? If you are, please unmute your line. Okay. Moderators, I tell you what we'll do. We will go ahead and throw the session to questions. And if Ramona joins us, we will let her chime in. One of the questions that we had is, let's see, we have a few. When is a, wait a minute, hold on. Y'all had to give me a little grace, all right? A little grace, remember that's our theme. If you have one child and that child is on all of your accounts, is a will necessary?
Good
Please
morning,
feel
can
free
you
to
hear
chime in.
me?
Yes, Ramona, let us go ahead and answer this question and then we'll throw it back to you, okay?
Okay.
Technical difficulty.
Yes, so as a lawyer in the panel, a will is absolutely necessary. Now, you never know when a person is going to pass away. They could be 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. So you absolutely want to have a will that identifies what should happen. The other thing, we're living in a time where children are actually passing away before parents. And so what if this child is named on the accounts, but they're no longer around? So have a will as a backup plan. And it may not be needed at the time of death, but if you have it, it's like an umbrella. If you have it, it's great. If you don't have it, then you're going to be upset and miserable.
All right, thank you for answering that question. Ramona, hey, we're giving everybody grace, right? It's grace. So take your computer off mute for us and give us
Thank
your
you.
expertise.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. What I've learned in my years with in home health is there are some certain questions that the family has to ask. One is they need to determine what services are needed for the family member. Then once they determine what services are needed, they'll need to determine what type of insurance does the family member have, what it covers, if that family member has long-term care insurance, and then seek out family members that are willing to volunteer their services with the family member before you start discussing finances. Because once you start needing home health, you'll find out it can be a very costly journey. With the insurance, find out what it covers. Does it cover provider services? Because a lot of times individuals presume that Medicare covers provider services, and it does not. So when you're thinking about provider services, those are the activities of daily living that the individuals need. Someone who may need assistance with cooking, cleaning, with baths, going shopping, taking them to the store to get their medication. A lot of times we just presume that that is covered with your Medicare and certain types of insurance, and it is not. I always start telling individuals, seek the family members that you know that you can depend on so that you will not be disappointed when they do not step up. And when you're thinking about financing provider services for an individual, if it is not covered, that can start at a cost of $20 an hour. And that is why I always recommend speaking to family members first. Then once you seek out the family members that you can and cannot depend on, then if you still feel like you might need to pay out of pocket for services, think about your budget. And I will go back to one of the speakers earlier. You need to have a household budget, because then you can determine how much money you have available to spend on those type of services. And when it comes to spending money on services that are needed, that can become very stressful within the family. And it can cause a lot of bickering. So for the most part, a lot of people have planned for provider services or the elders getting sick, and a lot of people have not. And then how much assistance can you receive from the family members through volunteering of time? And then how many family members are you able to pay? And if you have family members that are willing to pay for, that are willing to let you pay them, the going rate ranges, it might start at $12.50 an hour. Another thing you would like to think about is what programs are available to your family members. A lot of times individuals just presume that they do not qualify for the programs that are out there. Seek the state and the government and just go apply for different programs. You might want to consider, they might end up being, might be available for Meals on Wheels. They may qualify for Medicaid, and Medicaid will cover provider services. Medicaid, not Medicare. Medicare covers your skilled nursing services. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm answering questions as I go along.
We'll get the questions. I just want to make sure that you get out all the information that you need that you think is relevant to right now.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I would like to offer to everyone.
Okay.
Start off with your family members first, and then from there start determining how much money you would like to spend. How much care does your loved one need? Are you able to keep that loved one at home? Sometimes we would like to keep them at home when they may actually need to go to an assisted living facility. So we run into that also. This is what I didn't mention, I'm so sorry, and we just acknowledged Veterans Day. If your loved one is a veteran, make sure they visit the Veterans Hospital, because once they are in the veteran system, the VA will pay for a home health aide homemaker. And that is an individual that can come out to your home, cook and clean, and the home health aide can assist with baths.
Wow.
And that's just a benefit of being a veteran.
Wow. That is good information. I'm not sure if you answered this question or not, but what advice do you give for your parents who have assets as it relates to their coverage and programs utilizing their Medicare services?
What I would recommend is most times they haven't gone over the paperwork with their children. So I would, as the young adult, I would go and call the insurance company and see exactly what it covers. Because sometimes they have paid into an insurance that may not cover anything that they need. And certain home health agencies, they will accept private pay insurance, and that may cover some of what they need, and they may have to pay out of pocket for the rest.
Okay, thank you for answering that. And this next question I think is going to be geared toward Miss Deborah. Deborah, are you able to turn your camera on? If not, just go ahead and
no, I can't get it on.
Okay, no problem, no problem. What advice do you have for anyone that has a loved one in a facility and they can't visit them due to COVID?
Well, see, right now, that's ironic that you asked that, because they've changed that policy. Believe me, I have 5 facilities. It was very scary when they did lift it. So we are able to allow people into our facilities now. But what we've chosen to do is we let them come outdoors. So if they come inside of the facility, we allow them to have a plexiglass where they're not able to touch their loved one, but they're able to talk to their loved one. If you want, you can also keep the mask on the client that's there, the patient rather, and then the family member, they will have their mask on and they sit outdoors and they're 6 feet apart. So yes, I don't know what facility they are talking about, but yes, that has been lifted and changed. And as an owner, I think we were just afraid and we went kicking and screaming, because if you have a facility that doesn't have any covert, you don't want to get any now. So I think as a owner of a facility, we're just afraid. But no, that has been lifted.
That's good information to know. And, of course, we always want to be cautious. And there's always creative ways to do things now, right?
Absolutely.
Through the window and, FaceTime. So
yes.
Safety first.
Yes.
Always. What I'd like to do, attendees, we want you to light up the chat with questions. In the meantime, as we wrap things up, we're going to have a few minutes for maybe 1 or 2 questions at the end, but I want to go down the line so that we can give the attendees your information to contact you. So if you will start out, Ms. Cynthia Hatchett, if you'll give us your number and your email address or website.
Sure. The website is Hatchett Legal Team. That's HATCHETTLEGALTEAM.com. I've typed it in the chat, and I'll also type the telephone number, 281-881-2842. 2380. I think that's the number. We normally just have people Google us and that's how they find us.
Awesome. And Deborah Nixon, if you'll give us your contact information.
Sure. It's Deborah Nixon, and my telephone number is 713-419-2653, and our website, www.nixonhomecare.org. Thank you.
And how many facilities do you have in total?
7.
7. All right.
Thank
Good
you.
deal. Do you all have open tours?
Yes,
for your
we do.
facilities?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We ask that you call, though.
Perfect. And Ramona, can you give us your contact information?
Yes, it's Ramona Thompson Holt at Heart. My email address is rholt, Holt, at hearthomehealth.com. And the name of our agency is Heart Home Healthcare, Inc. And our phone number is 713-654-8825.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a few questions in the chat. So I'm going to just throw the questions out, and whoever is appropriate to answer those, please do so. The first question comes from Ms. Bond. And that question is, if we are beginning the process of caring for a parent and are in need of documents, where do we start with the needed legal documents?
It really does depend on the family. I would say you're welcome to call our office. The number is on the screen, and Amanda Espino will be happy to either schedule an appointment by telephone or give you some general advice. We know that there are lots of things available online. I want to caution you guys, some of it is really excellent and useful, and some of it is not good at all. It really does depend on the situation for the family. The reason why I say that is, if you don't have the guidance of someone who knows what they're doing, many times the documents are executed improperly, or the documents don't actually do what the family thought they would do. And since they didn't have proper legal advice, they didn't know. So my recommendation is call around. There are lots of free opportunities. As I said, you can try the law schools if it's a situation where you're in for a budget, or contact a competent attorney. Sometimes you can find an even younger attorney who their pricing is going to be a lot more reasonable. If you may need a trust, I don't know, you may have some special needs consideration, you may need some Medicaid planning. I would say make a phone call to maybe more than one lawyer who advertises that they handle probate and will and estate planning, and then take it from there. Our office will tell you what we think you need, and then we'll tell you what we think you should pay as well.
Okay, and then while I have you, let me ask you a question. Someone had a question about succession. Can you explain what succession is? And also, if one dies and does not have a will the surviving spouse or family members have to go through a succession?
Again, it depends. In Louisiana, they use the term succession. In Harris County and in the state of Texas, we use the term heirship. And there's different ways to probate an estate. And it does depend on the assets of a decedent's estate. Decedent is the name of the deceased person. It depends on the assets, and it also depends on the debts. So if a person dies and they have more debts than assets, some of the strategies we will use in a probate estate may be different for a person who has very little debt. So again, that's where if you get a knowledgeable probate attorney, that will help you to determine what's necessary. In terms of succession, a really great plan that's happened after you've done the talk will cover making sure accounts have beneficiaries designated. We'll cover having transfer deeds, may even cover having a trust document. Most people don't need that, but sometimes it makes perfect sense. I would say if you are in a blended family, you are making a huge mistake by not having a plan in place, because that's where things can get very heated and very complicated. The other issue, not to overtalk, is when you have siblings that are of a great distance of age. I think I talked about this last year, but I want to bring it up again. When you have siblings that are more than, 7 years apart, sometimes the younger child has a different relationship with the parents than the older, and there can be conflict just because the younger child may feel entitled to certain things because they were the last to live at home. And the older child can feel entitled to being in charge because they're the older child. That's why it's critically important to have the talk and have the talk together. And this is where I recommend having a competent attorney involved, because then they can help facilitate those conversations.
Awesome. And then we have a question that someone posed. Saman posed the question: at what age should we think of making a will? I'm 23. Is it too soon?
17 and a half years old.
Ah.
And here's why. Let me give you a little bit more information. We want our children to be legacy minded. We want to start having that conversation with them about what's the footprint they want to leave on this planet. We all know, and if you don't know, I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you here, I'm going to blow a secret. You cannot take any of this with you. When you take your last breath, none of the stuff that you've accumulated, all this fancy stuff we surround ourselves with, we can't take it with us. It has to go to someone else. We want to get our clients, we want to get our family members ready. They should be having a conversation with people like Cheryl as early as possible. They need to have a mentor like Cheryl who's been there and done that, and he can show them how to avoid all the traps of accumulating debt, buying things they don't need, and truly investing in their future. I say start having that conversation with your children right before they're getting ready to graduate high school, because once they leave your home, once they leave the nest, they're going to be making a lot of important decisions on their own. Help them to plan by talking to them about what you're doing. Get them at the table, make them a member of the financial committee for the family. If you're 23, you're 6 years too late.
But we're going to give people grace today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody a little grace. I want to take a moment of privilege to award somebody with a prize. You see, Lighten Up the Chat has its privileges. Brenda J said that she just finished her will. She's a single parent. She just finished her will because she wants to 100% be sure that she can leave a legacy for her son. So chat moderators, if you can find Brenda J, and we want to award her with a prize for being proactive and making sure she's setting up a legacy for her child. So thank you for doing that, Brenda. We have time for one more question. And that is from Ariel. If you don't have any children yet, at what age should you start legacy planning?
17 and a half.
Okay. 17 and a half. All righty. And there was one other question. Any suggestions or tips on helping older family members understand how important it is to have a will? And I know sometimes people can be in denial and they don't want to face the reality. So if you can answer that.
Well, I don't know if they're going to actually do this, but if you would go to any of the county clerk websites that handle probate actions and see the amount of money that attorneys like myself make because families fail to plan and fail to have the talk and resolve difficult questions, perhaps that would help. It just depends. So some parents are not going to really, they're going to be in denial. They're not going to want to manage the issue, and you can't make them. The best thing you can do is, in this situation, is like everything in life, handle your business. Start with you. If you're over 17 and a half and you haven't already begun the process of planning for yourself, how can you possibly encourage a parent or someone else to do what you haven't done? So I say, walk the walk before you talk the talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Panelists, thank you so much for your feedback. Deborah, I want to let you know that someone in our chat has given a compliment to your facility. So that is awesome. We always want to definitely encourage people. Sometimes we always hear the bad in things, but we need to hear the good. So I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, as well as Ramona and Cynthia. So thank you so much. Our panelists have put their contact information in the chat. I know this is a lot of information and it's happening very fast, but everything is going to be logged in the chat. I hope you're making notes, everybody, because this is some really, really good information. And I also want to remind you that if you have not registered for the conference officially, you need to do that to be eligible for prizes, and you have to stay all the way to the end of the conference. We still have more great information, and we will continue with that after this next break.
You probably have ideas about how you'd like to retire. And while you might already be saving, it's important to have a plan to not only get you to retirement, but all the way through it. That means minimizing these 6 common risks today that can impact your finances later on. The first risk is longevity. People are living longer than ever, and we can help make sure you can live comfortably without outliving your savings. The second is market volatility. No one can predict those ups and downs, and they can significantly impact your savings if you go into retirement during a down market. The third is inflation and taxes. Inflation means that the money you've saved may not go as far as you think it will. For example, at an inflation rate of 4%, $100,000 today will be worth little over half as much in 15 years. Plus, when you start taking money out of your tax-deferred accounts, you'll have to pay taxes on that money then. The fourth risk is healthcare. You might assume you'll be covered by Medicare, but that only covers some expenses, and it doesn't cover dental, vision, or hearing. The fifth risk is the cost of long-term care. Someone turning 65 today has a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care in their lifetime. Those costs are not typically covered by health insurance, and Medicare only helps with a portion of them. The sixth is leaving a legacy to the people you love. If you plan for it, you can leave something behind for your loved ones and save enough to enjoy retirement the way you've always wanted to. Talk to your financial professional about getting a personalized retirement plan.
are back, and we are back for our final panel, and it's entitled Building Your Legacy. But before we go into our wonderful panelists, I want to take a moment of privilege to acknowledge Mr. Rogers. I don't know if this is Mr. or Mrs. Rogers, who said they have a child with autism, a high functioning child with autism, and they've recently done a power of attorney and researched having his name placed in their the home placed in their name. So I want to let me give you a prize, not just because you have taken those steps, but because I am an autism mom as well, who is parenting a child with autism. So I want to throw you a little something your way for taking those steps. We are going to roll right into our next session. This session is called Building Your Economic Legacy, Wealth Management, and Insurance. Some of these distinguished gentlemen were with us last year. We have Lester Ennis, Dion Hobbs, and Freddie Sherrill. And let me go ahead and introduce them. Lester Ennis is a financial representative with Northwestern Mutual Insurance. Lester grew up in Brooklyn, New York. We're going to check to see if he still has his accent. He worked in the IT consulting industry for 20 years. During the time, he worked with senior leadership teams, managing and delivering large, complex IT projects and programs across the US, China, Germany, UK, Canada, Philippines, and India. After seeing the positive impact of financial planning on building his own family's wealth and financial security, Lester decided to pursue his desire to help others do the same by joining Northwestern Mutual. Lester, thank you for joining us. We will go right into Dion Hobbs. He is Vice President and Senior Financial Advisor, Senior Portfolio Advisor with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. He has over 17 years of experience in the financial services industry and is senior partner of Hobbs, Wynn and Associates. He holds the FINRA Series 67, 63, 66 and Group 1 licensure. There'll be a quiz after that, y'all. Responsible for investment, philosophy approach, and business development management. And his key functionality roles include planning and investment philosophy, portfolio construction, goal congruency, and ongoing monitoring of investments. And last but not least on our panel is Freddie Sherrill Jr., financial advisor of Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. He is a financial advisor and member of the Dennison Group, which is located in downtown Houston. He provides customized wealth strategy and integrated advice to individuals, families, and businesses to help them address their priorities and pursue their goals more efficiently. He is a graduate of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Y'all do not kill me for messing that up, you A&T people. Just give me some grace, remember? So we want to welcome you three to our panel. What I want to do today, since you all are our last panel, the topic of our conference is building your economic legacy. And so what I want to do is go down the line. If you'll just take 2 minutes, and then I'm going to come back with some more questions. I want to know, and you can start out, Lester, what does an economic legacy look like to you?
Well, thanks, Lynn. Pleasure to be back here for the second year of this conference. So when it comes to economic legacy planning, the economic legacy, we define it as financial success for you and your family, right? And every family, that's a little different. It's predicated on income and history and different things. But what we like to focus on is the plan that allows you to get there. So there's some fundamental things that a financial advisor or planner would do when it comes to helping everyone customize and build their own economic legacy plan. First principle is around protection. Protecting what? Well, some of the best asset that any family has, or most important asset, is the ability of the breadwinner to bring income into the household. So it's imperative that part of legacy planning is that you protect that breadwinner or breadwinners through the use of life insurance, long-term disability insurance. When it comes to protection as well, it's important that in later years, as was talked about by Ramona and some of the others, long-term care expenses is a danger to any economic legacy. It whittles down the assets that people have saved over a lifetime. So we also recommend long-term care insurance as well, to something to be talked about. And of course, the other insurance is car insurance, health insurance, other things. Next, we want to optimize the plan by looking for ways to save money so that we can take dollars and put them to work in other places. And then also we want to grow the money or grow our assets. And, you know, for some, we have to start that in a savings account, which is great because it's liquid. It doesn't keep up with inflation, but it allows you to build an emergency fund when you're trying to protect yourself. But certainly we have to get into some investing because that's the only way we have to really outstrip the impact of inflation. So that's what a high level principles, and I could dig into those later on as you ask questions. Did I lose you, Lynn?
No, we're going to go right down the line. Dion, can you answer that question? You got to get off mute, Dion. We'd love to just be able to look at you, but we need to hear you too. We still can't hear you. Dion, unmute yourself. We can't hear you. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead to Freddie. Oh, there you are, Dion.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
This is going to be real good because it took you a second to get on. So I know this is going to be real good.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So protecting the legacy is always such an important task, simply because legacy in the definitive term means tomorrow, right? But so much in the Black community needs to be taken care of today, right? So when we look to sit down with a client or an individual, oftentimes first step is really trying to be honest with ourselves, to look at our budget, to stick to that budget and understand exactly what the components are of that budget. The word insurance has been used quite a bit on our calls this morning. When we look at insurance, what we're doing is we're just, as Lester said earlier, we're looking to protect, right? So when we're looking to protect that income or we're looking to protect that asset, we're creating a legacy in itself. When we're looking down at a budget, we always want to make sure what we're doing and how we're doing it. So if it's critical to understand more than anything, that if you're looking at the opportunity to protect your assets, you're looking at who are the benefit of those assets, which are your children and your family. But it's critical to understand as a part of that budget, if you're not taking care of 50-year-old you or 60-year-old you, who will, right? So we sit down and look to forecast on top of that budget. So we're doing the math and we're looking to protect, but most importantly, we're looking to secure today through the vices of tomorrow, and that being getting critical about where we're using our expenditures. It's important to understand the difference between making money and having money. And that's going to consist of the transition going from a financial statement to a balance sheet. A financial statement consists of income and expenses, which is important. But as we transition over to true growth of net worth, that's going to show up in the form of a balance sheet. When you look to apply for a loan, yes, they look at what kind of income and expenses you have in the form of a debt to ratio. But also you can apply for a loan based upon your assets that you may have, that you've accumulated. So we try to look to see exactly what kind of assets our clients are accumulating. Those assets that would be of most importance would be a home, a 401k. But people like to spend, we all like to spend. And through those expenditures, we want to make sure we're buying the right things, right? So buying the right cars or the right jewelry, things that are appreciating in value, not depreciating in value. So the transition from income sheet to balance sheet is probably the most critical thing that we could look at when trying to formulate a legacy going forward. And as Cynthia Hatchett, she said earlier, 17 and a half, we couldn't agree more. As financial planners, we would say 1.5, because as oftentimes as our kids are getting gifts and things of that nature, we need to encourage our children to start saying some of this money needs to be saved. Because as I said earlier, if you're not taking care of your future self, who will? I'm the product of a single parent. My mom was my everything. So she was critically on my behind to save for tomorrow. Give the Lord your 10%, but also give yourself 10% so you can have something to have down in the future. So I would probably say that's probably the biggest thing that we look at is being truly honest with ourselves and looking at a budget that makes sense.
Okay. Some of the lingo that you used was very high level. How do you present this information without it sounding so intimidating to people, and making sure that they realize, it is necessary, but maybe I don't understand this term or that term. How do you make this information so less intimidating?
We talk. Talking is critical. So if I say something that somebody doesn't understand, it's important that they say that back to me. They don't understand what I'm saying, right? So when I sit down, I'm a product of educators. My grandmother was an educator. 3 aunts are educators. So sitting down to actually talk about what is a stock, what is a bond, what is the difference between a term insurance or a whole life policy or universal insurance. So that's definitely a conversation to look to have and open to have one.
All right, thank you. And then we're going to Freddie. Freddie, can you tell us what does an economic legacy mean to you?
Of course. So first, I want to say thank you all for having me back again this year. And I think Lester and Dion have touched on some very important things. And when I think about an economic legacy, the real thing that matters to me, of course, you want to make sure the assets that you've accumulated, that you're passing that on, but the knowledge, the financial knowledge that you've accumulated, that you're passing that along for generations to come as well. And so being in a position to have a financial literacy council such as Lester and Dion today, this is a part of that economic legacy that you all are building. When you think about insurance, being able to protect what you've accumulated, but also making sure when you have that will, when you have that trust, that your children understand that they're not supposed to just spend through that money. And so there are things that you can put in place, and that's why the planning piece is extremely important, to put those things in place so that money is for generations to come. And at the end of the day, we all would like to be millionaires, make $1 million, but it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And the earlier that you have your children to understand that it's not what they make, but what they keep, the sooner and the better off they are for building their economic legacy for their kids and their future generations.
Awesome, thank you for that. So I wanted to just get that question out of the way in your perspective, each of your perspectives on what that meant to you. I'm going to go back to Lester. Is there anything else that you would like to contribute to this conversation around building our legacy as it relates to what you do and how you help your clients? Now, we will do a Q&A afterwards, but I want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to talk about what you want to talk about to make sure that you help the attendees advance.
Do I have 2 minutes, or how much? I want to make sure I stick within the time. Do you want me to take 2 minutes?
Say whatever you didn't say.
Okay.
This is your time.
All right, no problem. I'll take 2 minutes. When I sit down with prospective clients, what I really try to help them to do is vision. I think what we all need to do sometimes is have a vision of what our future life would like it to be, right? And we usually sit down and talk about what do you want to achieve in 3 years and 4 to 10 years and beyond that. So we really try to someone needs to mute. Maybe it's Ivory needs to mute. So when we talk about visioning, one of the things we try to stress is the need that no matter what your time horizon, protecting the future of yourself and your wife or husband and kids is an easy problem to solve, right? So One of the fundamental things that any good financial advisor would tell you is that life insurance is a very easy way of, and a very cost-effective way of creating instant wealth for your family, for generations to come. A lot of that is done through term insurance. A lot of insurance companies sell billions of dollars of term insurance every year. What we also talk to our clients about when they talk about vision is making sure that they do have some whole life insurance in place as well, because what whole life insurance does is that it allows individuals to ensure that on the day they die, there will be insurance in place. Now, depending on your income and your situation or your wealth as well, you may choose to have a little or a lot of whole life insurance, but that's critical to making sure that on the day you die, your expenses will be taken care of and the next generation will be funded. I'm going to allow Freddie and Dion to talk a bit more about the investing. I also do investments as well, but I know that's something that they specialize in. What I would say is the other thing that we talk to our clients about that's very important is taxation. So when we talk about planning, we always talk about taxation. We talk about how 401ks will be taxed versus traditional IRAs versus a Roth IRA, right? So taxation is critical in order to be able to help keep money that can create a generational wealth and legacy for our families.
Dion, would you like to chime in? Anything
Absolutely.
that you didn't cover?
It was Lester. It was a great segue into it. He ended with retirement planning, 401k, and I couldn't agree with him more. So often, a 401k or a retirement plan of some nature, whether if you're self-employed or working for an individual, it doesn't get the consideration that it should. When an individual retires, normally their two largest assets are their home and their retirement plan. Think about what we're doing with both of those assets. One starts off as a liability that we pay every month for 30 years or 15 years, right? The second is our 401k, where we contribute, should max out and contribute. When I say max out, I don't mean what the company maxes out. I mean what the IRS allows us to contribute to our 401k. That number is different, right? So my employer, and Freddie's employer, they match out at 6%. I add more than the 6% because it's important. It's important not only because am I securing my future, but also as well, I'm reducing my taxation in that year that I'm doing so. So the IRS allows every employed individual in the United States $19,500 as a deductible item from their current income. You make $100,000 in a year, you contribute $19,500 to your 401k. The government taxes you on the $79,500, not the $100,000. So now I'm paying less taxes. Though that tax savings, just as Lester said, is important because those dollars are growing tax deferred or tax free. So those dollars that are supposed to be taxed are not taxed and therefore growing within an environment in a protected account, i.e. a 401k or an IRA for our future, for our legacy. So that's usually the second step that I look to address and ensure after a budget has been identified. We identify the budget, we figure out exactly how much we have, we figure out exactly how much we don't have, right? And then we work to drill down on that budget. Right after that budget has been identified, step two, let's figure out exactly how much we're looking to secure our emergency fund and figure out exactly how much we're going to be contributing to our retirement plans.
Ready.
Great things both by Lester and Dion. And one of the things that I always tell my clients when we sit down, or a prospective client, is just to paint a picture of what, if it's retirement, or the next 5 years, what does that look like for you? And in painting that picture, it allows us to kind of focus on what the priorities are. So when we have to make a tough decision, when it comes to budgeting or managing your cash flow, we're looking at what your goals, your picture, your ideas, your dreams look like to you. And that way, when we back into the things like Dion or Lester talked about, where in your retirement savings, what does that number look like? Or your budget today, when you're trying to decide if you're someone that's early in the game like myself and you're looking at buying that first house. What does that down payment look like to you that you need to save for? Or if you are later in life and you are maybe a caretaker for someone, but you're approaching retirement, being able to define what it is that's important and how you're going to decide when it comes to the spending of the dollar and making sure you have a plan for each dollar. So when Dion kind of talked about that emergency savings, that's also something I know, especially in my family, situations happen where a family member may reach out and they'll need assistance. So I set aside a budget, and I also encourage clients to do this, to make sure you set aside a family budget that, okay, this is the amount of money that I'm able to help my family with, so you aren't digging into those other priorities when we're talking about that economic legacy that you want to leave for your children to come later on down the road. So really it's defining and understanding what your picture looks like in your life and making sure that we stick to that and revisit that on a yearly basis as we continue to go through your financial plan.
Okay. We are going to use the rest of our time for Q&A. Coincidentally, we have more questions for this chat. I don't know if it's just because these brothers are just so good looking, but our chat room is on fire. I want to throw out a prize to Angela Reed. She was our first person to ask a question. And her question is, if you can afford it, is there any advantage to whole life over term life insurance?
Yeah, so I saw that question as well. So the simple answer is yes. There are advantages to whole life or permanent insurance. Permanent insurance is the insurance that's there till the day you die, as long as you pay the premiums. And under permanent, there's whole life and there's other types of insurance under permanent. So when it comes to whole life insurance, the absolute answer is yes. So some simple advantages to whole life is that there are guaranteed things that come with a whole life policy. One is the growth in the death benefit. So you might buy a $50,000 whole life policy from a reputable mutual company. That's always the advice that we give, a reputable mutual company. I can explain that later as well. And what you will get is a guarantee that the death benefit will grow every year as long as you pay your premiums. The second guarantee is that the premiums stay fixed over time with a whole life policy. So there is no surprises, there's a schedule, and the premium stays fixed over time. The third guarantee with a whole life policy from a reputable mutual company is that your cash value will grow every year in that policy as well, as long as you're making the agreed premium payments that the contract was designed for. Now, those are three guarantees with a whole life policy. Now, the other benefits from a whole life policy is the ability to access the cash for any reason whatsoever. You can access it as a withdrawal, a surrender, a loan, and those are all technical terms. We don't have time to dig into that, but when you access it, you can access those cash values tax-free. And because you can access those values, they help when we enter retirement years and we hit a situation like COVID. So what many of us saw with COVID is that in March, through March, April, May, many people's accounts were down 33%. So imagine the retiree who said, January, I'm retiring, easy street from here on out. I'm going to take $5 grand or 10 grand out of my retirement accounts with Dion or with Freddie or with myself, right? We all manage retirement accounts. January's good, February's good. Come March, come April, hey, my accounts are down 10, 20, 30%. What do I do? Do I go and sell the assets in those accounts, the mutual funds at a loss so I can live? Well, that's where whole life insurance can come in and allow you access to cash to live on until the market recovers, which indeed we saw the market recover. It was a V-shaped recovery. And now many of our investment accounts are beyond where they were in February and January. So that's one of the great ways that whole life insurance can be used. Again, it's there on the day that you die, and it can be accessed tax-free for any reason. And it plays a lot of value there in retirement as well.
Okay, we have the next question. I love this question because it comes from a recent college grad. For a recent college grad who just started making a higher income, what is the best way to start saving and knowing what to invest in? And any one of you can take that question.
Freddie, I can take that.
Yep, go ahead, Dion.
So to that individual, just like myself and just like many of us, congratulations, you're making more money than you've ever made in your entire life. Because of that fact, secure your legacy and love yourself and love your future self by adding the largest percentage that you possibly can afford and put that into your retirement plan that your company pays for you on your behalf. They give you that 401k as a benefit. That's why it's part of the benefits package. It is a benefit, and it's a benefit that should be taken advantage of. So 19.5 is the goal. I'm going to say that over. That's the current goal for 2020 and 2021. That number has gone up $500, $1,000 annually over the last 10 years. But that's the first step. You want to get to that 19.5. Your company matches 2%, 5%, 10%. That's great. You want 19.5. The market is going to do what the market is going to do, whether if we like it or not. We don't control it. What we can control and what we do control are our spending. So look to invest in the market as often as possible, as much as possible, for as long as possible, because the time value of money cannot be misunderstood and misrepresented in your portfolio, and as it relates to true growth of any type of portfolio. Einstein said the eighth wonder of the world is compounding interest. Einstein was a genius. He was a smart man. If he said it's the eighth wonder of the world, I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to instill that into anything that I have that has the opportunity to grow. So that might have been a long answer to a short question, but investing as much as you can, as often as you can. Don't wait to have $1,000 6 months down the road to invest. Invest at $20 today.
And then one thing that I would like to add to what Dion said is the time value of money. He talked about interest being the eighth wonder of the world. There's this rule that we use with our clients called the rule of 72. Might have switched to 69 or 68 now, but I stick with 72 because it makes it very simple. But the rule of 72 says if you want, let's look at how long it would take for your money to double if you're earning a certain interest rate. So let's say you want your money to double in 10 years. You just graduated college. You'll be maybe early to mid 30s in 10 years. And if you put that 19,500 away, like Dion said, it sounds like you're doing very well. Within 10 years, if you're earning an interest rate of 7.2%, that's what it would take. It would take 10 years for that money to double from that 19,500. And that's if you don't add another dollar to it. What we coach is to have a consistent strategy of adding that money. So you do 19,500 the first year, 19,500 the second year, so on and so forth. Now you're looking at roughly $190,000 that you've contributed, but it's also earning that 7.2%. And your portfolio, your retirement portfolio, will be looking a lot better than a lot of Americans in your early 30s. So time in the market is very important.
Okay, we're going to go to a few more questions. Actually, I have one. So all of these stock apps that are popping up, I, for one, have a Robinhood account. Can you give information? You know, I signed up for it. I purchased a few, but I'll be honest, I really don't know how and what I'm doing. Are there any, is there any advice that you have for people who want to get into the stock market, utilizing some of these quick and efficient apps, and how to get that going and develop some knowledge around that?
I can touch on that. What I would say is that when I meet with my prospective clients, many of them are like you, using Robinhood and the other apps, and I don't try to discourage that. What I talk about is the service you're getting, and what you're talking about is education. So what I try to do is educate my prospective clients around the costs that they're paying for the service they're getting from Robinhood or any of these apps, right? What is the cost of acquiring the mutual fund or stock you're purchasing? You know, what are the costs, the operating costs year over year while you hold that particular security, right? What I find is that a lot of these companies are making it very easy for people to get into the investment space. So that's kudos for them, and kudos for anyone who takes advantage of it. But where I find it I'm able to add value is talking about the service they're getting around understanding cost of entry, cost of keeping it, as well as how it fits into their overall plan, right? And how does it fit from a taxation perspective? You know, one of the things that I saw in the chat box was around the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, or a 401k and a Roth 401k. It all comes down to taxes. Simply put as much money as you can into your 401k up to the match. Get that free money. Beyond that, you have to really start to think about taxation in the future, because every dollar you access from a traditional IRA or traditional 401k will be taxed at ordinary income rates in the future. When you do Robinhood and other apps and you open up a brokerage account, you're taxed every year. So again, save money as best as you can, invest as best as you can, but a financial advisor really helps you to see how these different vehicles fit into your overall plan. I also saw some questions on insurance, but I'll stop there in case you wanted to ask a follow-up question.
Okay. Someone asked about, I was trying to find Kayla's question, chat moderator. See, everybody is awoken for some reason at the end of the conference, because now the chat room is on fire.
We're gonna have to go longer then. We have to go longer. Do you want me to address any
no,
questions?
Kayla, that's why we have a chat monitor.
Okay.
Kayla Brown's question, chat monitor, if you can read
Yes.
her question.
There is actually a question from LaDonna Malone. Her question actually says, is it beneficial to have whole life for children over term, or is one better than the other based on your age? An example that they gave is a term policy better or more cost efficient for someone who is looking to get insurance on an elderly parent?
Yeah, I can touch on that one. So there's quite a few questions, and that's just not one. So let's talk about the first one. Is it beneficial to have whole life for children over term? Usually there's no way to get term insurance on children. There's almost no way. There might be a rider that someone has on their term insurance policy for children, and that usually provides $10,000 to $25,000 worth of coverage if the child was to die while they're a minor. We recommend that that's not real insurance, that's just a rider. If that policy dies, the child will no longer have life insurance. Most reputable insurance companies will only sell a whole life policy on a child. Normally you can start anywhere from 25 to 50,000. It usually runs about $30 a month, depending on, you know, the amount you get. 25, maybe $15 a month. 50,000 is $30 to $40 a month. We recommend getting whole life insurance on children because if the policy has the right attributes on it, for instance, if the policy allows the child to buy more insurance in the future without having to go through medical underwriting, it means that you can create a situation where your child will have access to insurance for the rest of their life. So for instance, you can buy a $50,000 whole life insurance on a child. There can be options where the child can buy $100,000 7 times between age 22 and 40, which means that if that child was to ever catch a disease or come down with an illness that would make them uninsurable or make insurance very expensive, that child will have insurance for the rest of their life. So that's the value of whole life insurance on a child. When it comes to is whole or term insurance better, again, term insurance is very affordable. During our high earning years, many people get term insurance of varying types. The challenge is that when people get term insurance, usually in their late 20s, early 30s, and they get a 30-year policy, which is usually the max you can get with a flat rate every month, the problem is that they lose that coverage when they're most vulnerable, either in their mid to late 50s when sicknesses and diseases start to show up that could make them uninsurable. So what we recommend to our clients is that you do one of two things. You buy term insurance and you can buy some whole life, maybe $50,000 alongside of it. So therefore you're able to have best of both worlds. Or if you cannot even afford any whole insurance right now, you buy a term policy from a reputable mutual insurance company that gives you the ability to convert some or all of that term insurance over time. So for instance, there may be a 10-year window for convertibility. There may be a 20-year window, 25-year window for convertibility. So that means in your early years where you're not earning that much, you have the term. And as you get older and your cash flow changes, as you work with an advisor to free up cash flow, then you could go and buy some whole life to make sure you have insurance on the day that you die. And when it comes for looking for insurance on an elderly parent, it depends on the age. We don't recommend term insurance for people over 60 because again, it's going to lapse. And if they live till age 80 plus, then they will still be without insurance. So usually once people get into their 60s, we recommend a whole life insurance policy. You know, it's going to be expensive, but you can bring it down to 50 grand, 25,000, depending on the company. And this way you can ensure that the insurance will be there on the very day that they die. Again, you have to use a reputable mutual life insurance company because expenses, mortality, and lapse affect how the policy grows in cash value and affects how that policy will perform over time. I think I addressed all three.
Okay, and this is the last and final question. I did find the question from Carla Brown. And that question is, and Freddie, maybe you can weigh in on this. She wants to know about investment groups and investment clubs. Is there a way that we can find them? And is there one particular one that you recommend?
So the way investment groups and investment clubs work is you set those up yourself. You get a group of people together. I have a client that's in Lake Charles, Louisiana. She has some of her sorority sisters that they have created. Their legacy is to get their children involved. So they created an investment group. And what that does is there's power in numbers at the end of the day. So instead of just taking your money, you'll create, and so you definitely need an attorney. You would need somebody that has a fiduciary responsibility to your investment group to give you that financial advice. But you take the pool of money and you're investing as a group. So what you put in is the percentage that you would get out based on the bylaws that you have. And there isn't an investment group that I recommend. It's you coming together with people that you know. Maybe it's family, maybe it's your line sisters from when you started with your sorority, or maybe there are people that you've met in your life that you just have common goals. But when you create that investment group, make sure you do talk with an attorney to put laws and bylaws into place. So if anyone wants to leave the group or take their money out, what that looks like at the end of the day. And then Dion, I don't know if there's anything else that you might want to touch on from that standpoint.
Investment groups and clubs are powerful, but I think they are they follow, not precede, investing in your own retirement plan. Right. And we've said 401k a lot and 403b from IRS, that's the same thing. For our self-employed listeners, a SEP IRA, or if your business is where you have employees, maybe setting up a 401k for your business is the best thing for you. But I can't understate how important and how powerful it is to invest in your own retirement plan first, max out the IRS's allowable deduction first, and then look to participate in any type of investment club or group.
Okay, with that being said, I would like to go down the line to our panelists so you can give us your contact information.
Sure. It's Lester Innis. It's spelled INNISS. And my phone number, I have a Chicago number. I've had it for 21 years, so don't worry. I just refuse to give it up. My phone number, my cell number is 312-961-9962. My office number is 281-760-4818. My email is lester.innis@nmnancymary.com. And my website is lesterinnis, all one word, .nm.com. I just put it in the chat as well. Actually, let's see here. I gotta put it to everyone. Okay, here we go. So that's my contact info.
Thank you, Lester. And Dion.
Dion Hobbs, DIONHOBBS. Phone number 713-993-1530. I would encourage all of our listeners to use brokercheck.org. That is a independent website to fact check your advisor. So that's the internal resume of every single licensed advisor in the country. So your current advisor, look them up. Also look us up to make sure we are competent and actually know what we're talking about and things of that nature. Dion, D-I-O-N .Hobbs, Hobbs @ML, that's Merrill Lynch.com. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Freddie? Freddie, we're ready.
All right. So again, Freddie Sherrill Jr. My phone number is 713-658-1628. And my email address is freddie.sherrill_jr@ml for Merrill Lynch.com. And then for both Dion and myself, our firm does a great job where if you type our names into Google, you'll be able to pull up our website information. It's very easy to pop up. Just don't get me confused. My dad has some Google hits up there as well. So that's why I denote the junior.
All right, that sounds good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again for another enriching panel. And you have closed us out so graciously. We want to thank you again. Thank all of our panelists for each one of our conference discussions. Thank you, attendees, for your time. We appreciate you. And this did work out virtual, didn't it? It worked out very well. Let's give a round of applause to our planning committee for our virtual conference. We gave everybody grace. We didn't have any hiccups. Our attendees chimed in, and we're getting nothing but great information in our feed and in our chat. I want to thank the chat monitors, the timekeepers. A lot goes into planning something like this. A lot of dry runs, a lot of behind the scenes. We were on the phone last night till maybe 10 o'clock trying to make sure we got this right, and it pays off. Preparation pays off, just like when you plan for your financial legacy and building your economic legacy. So I want to say thank you so much. Don't forget your hashtags. We want everybody to take a selfie of yourself. Many of you got dressed up today. It wasn't for nothing. We want you to take a selfie, and we want you to hashtag money, money, money. We want you to hashtag economic legacy and some of the other hashtags that we have. We are going to make sure that you have registered officially for the conference. There's no way to win any of our fabulous prizes unless you have officially registered as a conference attendee. It's one thing to be here, but another thing for you to have registered. And so that's the only way that you're going to get your prize. So we want to make sure that you hashtag, make sure that you register. And we are going to take our last commercial break so we can pay the bills. And we will be right back after this.
Greetings, Missouri City. This is Otis Jones, your city manager. I'm here to inform you of action we've taken here at City Hall to assist in not only having an effective response to COVID, but ensuring that we come out of it stronger than what we went into it. We've begun implementing a rental, mortgage, and utility assistance program. That program is designed to help residents who have been struggling because of COVID. Secondly, we're going to take action on the small business front. That action will be launched on October 11th. At no fault of their own, small businesses have had to close. And while they've been asked to close, they've fallen behind in their leases. So we're going to assist them by providing grants to help them recover and pay for their lease payments that they otherwise would have been able to pay. It's important for us to continue having not only our home base thrive, but also to our small businesses thrive. They are the backbone. They employ a lot of people within the city, and they provide a great service. It's important that we're going to continue taking action to ensure that not only we recover from COVID, but that we come out of it stronger than what we went into it. Please feel free to contact City Hall should you have any questions, or visit MissouriCityTX.gov.
right. We're at our conclusion, and I want to bring up right now the chairwoman of this wonderful conference, Mrs. Ivory Harrison. I'm signing off. It has been wonderful being moderator once again this year. Thank you so much for having me. Ivory, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, wow, wow, wow. That's all I can say about today's financial literacy conference. It has been awesome. Unfortunately, I'm having a few technical difficulties, so you're not able to see my picture now, but you can see all of those dollar signs, and that's really what it was all about. I serve as the chairman of Target 3, Building Your Economic Legacy. And our goal for today was to provide some tips and tools to help you secure your financial future. And I believe that we delivered. As you saw, there are so many different facets to help you do that and to help you put a great, solid plan together. You've heard lots of great information from many of our experts in that area. So let's just get it going right now. As Nettie Johnson said, let's relax, reflect, refocus, and let's do some of that tapping for adults, and let's get busy. So we have our work to do. And as Nettie also said, as Attorney Hatchett said, let's have that talk. Many of us don't like to face some of the things that are imminent, and having that talk really is imminent. So today, I hope you gain some of those tips and tools that will help you in building your financial future. And so with that, I just want to leave you with this little quote. Today, most of us are working for our money, but in our future, we want our money to start working for us. So let's make sure that we are taking advantage of all the information you heard today. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the committee chairman, Renee Miller and Rochelle Jones. You'll hear from them in a bit, and all the committee members who worked tirelessly to put this event together. So again, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Get busy managing your money and making your future as bright as you choose for it to be. And so now I'll turn it over to Miss Renee Miller.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I want to take the time just to thank you again for attending our Financial Literacy Conference. It has been my pleasure to serve on this committee and be able to pull together these wonderful speakers together with our committee in a collaborative effort to make sure we give you this great information that these organizations have to offer. So it has been my great pleasure to serve in this capacity on this committee as well. I want to show on our next slide that we've had some amazing speakers over the year, and this year doesn't fail us at all this year. So with that being said, I want to make sure that we want to honor them and recognize them and show our gratitude for the effort that they put into supporting this event and also supporting Kappa Omega. So we will be providing you with a customized pin set that we will be giving to you shortly. It'll have on there, of course, the information about our conference. But again, we want to thank you so very much for everything that you have done for us and continue to support Kappa Omega. With that said, I want to make sure all you guys have been waiting online for what we're about to do next. So I'm going to hand it over to Shanika Young to do the prize giveaway. Shanika.
All righty, let's give away some prizes. So we're gonna get the spin the wheel pulled up in just a moment.
Shanika, can you send me the link again? It's a lot of people talking, so I can't see the link in the chat. I got it. 1 second. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Here we go.
Okay. So our first raffle drawing will be for an hour of free legal consultation that was donated by the Law Office of Rochelle D. Carter. Congratulations to our winner, Demetrius Burns. Okay, our next raffle will be for a gift certificate for a custom fragrance. This prize was donated by Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. Congratulations to our winner, Shamicia Lenars. Our next prize will also be for another gift certificate for custom fragrance. Again, this was generously donated by Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. Congratulations, Tashia Innes. Our next prize will be a De La Paix candle donated by Heart Home Healthcare. Congratulations, Kiara. Our next prize will also be another De La Paix candle, again, courtesy of Heart Home Healthcare. Congratulations, Kalandra. Our next raffle drawing will be for credit repair services. This was donated by Ring the Alarm Credit Repair. Congratulations, Regina. The next item we will raffle will be for an Amazon gift card. This was donated by On Time Lending. Congratulations, Angel. Again, we have another Amazon gift card that will be raffled off. Again, this was donated by On Time Lending. Congratulations, Willadine. Now we have a gift card to Walmart. This was donated by Alon Realty Company. Congratulations, Jasmine. And our final drawing for today will be a certificate for a psychotherapy or life coaching session. This was donated by Nettie Jones. Congratulations, Carol. We would like to congratulate all of the winners for the raffle drawings, as well as the winners throughout the sessions today. You will receive an email in the next coming days on how to retrieve your prize. Again, thank you for attending today and congratulations.
All right. Again, we want to say thank you so much for attending. Thank you to our attendees that stayed to the end to win your prizes. Thanks to everyone, our planning committee. And hey, I think we made good timing with this being virtual. It's 12:01. Our cutoff time was 12 o'clock. Hey, we gave grace today, and I hope everybody learned something on building your economic legacy. We'll see you all next year. Thank you so much for joining us.